Okay, hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Tax Moves of the Week with our guest Glen Birnbaum. So, Glenn, we were talking beforehand, and you had a pretty creative way to pay employees.
Yeah, so this is just a tip, a tax move, as we're now going to call it, for somebody that has a farmer that has employees, and normally you would pay somebody in a form of cash or a check, but some sort of cash wages, and in that case you have to pay payroll taxes on that. So if you're familiar, if you get a paycheck, there's withholding taken out of your check for Social Security and Medicare taxes. I'm just going to call those payroll taxes, and it's about 7.5% is withheld from your check. Then your employer then also pays 7.5% in. So in total, it's about a 15% payroll tax. It's not actually an income tax; it's a payroll tax, and so that's what we're all used to if we're employees, or if we're self-employed, we end up paying self-employment taxes, which also covers basically roughly that same 15%. So what this tip is a way to not, if we pay our employees in the form of commodities, so it could be bushels of corn, then we can save this payroll tax.
Okay, so would that be for example, if the guy wanted to pay, just hypothetically say you pay a guy, for easy math, $25,000 a year to work on your farm, and he wanted to pay $12,500 of that in bushels of wheat, for example, and
Yep.
then the other portion of that could be like your traditional paycheck. So something like that
Correct.
could work the same way as what
Yep.
you're talking about.
Yep. So in the end, hopefully it's, the employees, still gets the same money, obviously, but without the payroll tax. So they should obviously get more money. So the other thing that sometimes happens, we're planting right now. My dad's planting here. First day today is, you might, if you got an employee, you might say, hey, I'll give you a certain percentage of this field's production, right? So it might be a way to incentivize a farm employee. So,
Okay.
So as you would expect, there's some catches to this. You have to document things fairly well. And again, this is just a payroll tax thing. So what happens is the day that you're going to transfer this grain to the employee, so it's at the elevator, what have you, the day you transfer it to the employee, whatever the value of that, grain is, well, let's say it's corn, whatever the bid is that day, that's what is used to, basically that'll go on your W-2 as income, whatever that day's price is. So again, this is not a play against income tax, it's a payroll tax thing. So you transfer that grain to the employee, and then here's where we've got to really document that they have owned the grain for a while. We don't want them to immediately sell the grain. It's very fast in circumstances, but we'd probably like to see at least a couple weeks that they hold that grain. And then on their own accord, that employee sells the grain. And so the difference between what the bid was at the date that they received the grain, and versus what they sold it for, that's treated as a capital gain or loss. And generally, it's going to be a short-term capital gain or loss. But again, the concept here is that you're avoiding the payroll tax, and you're going to save about 15% of whatever the value of this grain that you're transferring. But you do need to document things well, and don't just immediately sell it. The employee really needs to have risk of ownership.
Okay. So how would this work with like in conjunction with, say, like housing? Like, for example, you provide a hired hand, a house and a vehicle. How would that kind of stuff work with this proposal you have here?
It's a good question. It gets more complicated. There are some ways that employer provided housing also is not subject to the payroll tax, but there's more hurdles and things to deal with. But there's less, at least in our area, there's a lot less livestock farms than there used to be. But that is also, it's a very good question. That is also, there is potentially an angle there that, again, that is not in the form of cash. Mm-hmm. So
okay. Well, great. Okay, Glenn. Well, if folks want to get a hold of you and ask some more questions about various moves they can make with their taxes, how would they do that?
Well, yeah, look me up on Twitter. It's at Glen Birnbaum, or our phone number here in East Peoria, Illinois is 309-694-4251.
All right, Glenn. So until next week, have a good one, and go plant lots of corn with your dad.
Okay, thanks,
All
Casey.
right, take it
Have a
easy,
good
man.
one.